These last few weeks have created more questions than answers, especially about the health of the President of the United States and how people attend to that health within the White House. Well, the man I've been looking to ask questions about this is joining us now. Congressman Ronny Jackson is Texas's 13th Congressional District representative and a former White House physician and a retired Navy Rear Admiral. He's done it all. Congressman Jackson, great to have you with us, sir.
Hey, thanks, Vince. I appreciate you having me.
It's really nice to talk to you. Okay, so I have a lot of questions about what's going on with Joe Biden, certainly his health specifically. But when the White House has been saying that, oh, no, he's not examined by a doctor except for during his physical, does that ring true to you? I mean, my impression is that there's an entire medical team dedicated to the president. If he has a sniffle, there's an exam going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Vince, the White House medical unit is made up of probably around 65 people, doctors, nurses, PAs, medics, corpsmen, the whole nine yards. And he has an appointed physician that works in an office, in the physician's office, with an exam room directly below his bedroom on the ground floor of the White House. And, you know, that's there every day, all day long, available to him. So it's ridiculous that they say that, like, he gets examined like once a year when he does his physical. He interacts with his medical team, and he's always got a doctor traveling with him all the time. So there's constant interactions with him and his medical team and him and his physician, especially the one that's his appointed physician, which used to work for me, Dr. Kevin O'Connor. He's the actual appointed physician. He's the one that they specifically brought in because they could trust him to say and do anything that needed to be said or done to participate in what has turned out to be a 3.5-year cover-up. So, it's ridiculous. His doctor has frequent engagements with him. And now we see from the visitors log, not only that, but his doctors bring in other doctors up who are specialists in Parkinson's disease and movement disorders to meet with the president as well.
Can I ask you, Congressman Jackson, to expand on a point you just made? You said that Dr. Kevin O'Connor, the current White House physician, used to work for you. And you also said that he was selected because he's willing to say or do anything. In other words, like, do you think that this man has serious credibility problems?
Oh, 100%. I mean, absolutely. This man's morally corrupt. I mean, he's immature. He's he's not a particularly great physician in the first place. He's perfect for the Biden administration, and we're finding out now through some of the stuff Jamie Comer's doing. I've said all along he's part of the Biden family. That's why he's there. He might be part of the Biden crime family. We're going to figure that part out. But yeah, he used to work for me. He was Vice President Biden's physician for 8 years when he was the Vice President. When I was President Barack Obama's physician, and so technically I was the director of the White House Medical Unit. He was part of the White House Medical Unit. I signed his evaluations. He worked for me. Now I could have and should have probably got rid of him early on in that process, but he had an unbelievable relationship with the Biden family, specifically with Jill Biden, and he was literally part of the family. So there was really no way to move him on. If I had tried to do so, I would have just got a phone call from President Obama saying, Ronny, stand down. The vice president's upset that, you're trying to get rid of his physician. It would have just been an exercise in futility. So anyways, long story short, I know him well. I know who he is and what he's made up, and I don't trust anything that's coming out of the White House. And, when I was the physician to the president, I stood up in front of the press corps and I answered all of their questions, and they were relentless in their attacks on President Trump and on me as his physician. And I stood up there for hours sometimes in front of the press, taking all the questions they had, answering. And anytime I saw the press, I answered their questions. This physician is in hiding. Where's he at? I mean, he doesn't want to get in front of the press because he knows they're going to ask him questions that he's either going to have to lie about or he's going to have to say something that's going to really take the president down.
So you believe that this is his choice not to talk to the press, that he's hiding something specifically, and not just the White House press shop trying to keep him away?
I think it's both. I think he doesn't want to get in front of the press because he doesn't want to have to lie about it, and they don't want him in front of the press because they don't want to take the chance that he says something that truthful that sinks the president.
In other words, what you're saying in all of this is that he's been deceiving us in these public statements that he makes. They release a letter once a year telling us about giving us an assessment of the president's health, some indication of some of the routine medicine he might be taking, but not really sharing the most damaging information that should cause concern for the American people.
The letters are a joke. They're just basically filler. All they do is just put a bunch of useless information that people could care less about, stuff that's, that the American people don't want or need to hear about. And they simultaneously ignore all the obvious stuff that's going on with the president cognitively and what, the real questions that the American people should get answered, and that doctors and other people that see this want answered. And it's just an effort to fill up 3 or 4 pages and check the box and then move on. And that's what they've got away with for 3 years.
Okay, so in that letter that they release each year, the White House has been trying to direct our attention to a claim that he has given, Joe Biden, that is given some sort of neurological assessment that they do during the physical, and that he's all clear. Yeah. Do you know what they're talking about when they say they've assessed him neurologically?
I don't know what they're talking about, and what they should do is he should be standing up in front of the press and saying that, and they should be saying, show us what was done. What do you mean when you say neurological assessment, right? That could be like next to nothing, or it could be a whole battery of cognitive tests. We don't know the answer to that, right? So I think they do some, maybe they check his deep tendon reflexes. They use the hammer and see if he's got, reflexes, and that's the neurological exam. And they're like, that was normal. Let's just check the box and say he had a neurological exam and move on. We don't know. And I guarantee you, either they're doing extensive testing and he's being treated and they're lying to us about it, or they're purposely not doing stuff because they don't want to ask questions that they don't want the answers to. Either way, they know something's wrong with him. The whole world knows something's wrong with him now, but they've known more than anybody for the last 3.5 years, and because of the power, the influence, and the authority that they all get from him being in that office, Jill Biden included. She wanted to be first lady more than she wants her next breath, and she wants to keep this job. They are all actively doing everything they can and have been for 3.5 years to cover up what's going on with this man, but the cat's out of the bag now.
There was also another claim made by the White House that the reason that this Parkinson's expert might be at the White House, Dr. Kevin Kennard, is because thousands of personnel who work on the White House campus might need assistance, and they were really working very hard to protect the privacy of all of those patients. Having been in the leadership position you were as the physician of the President of the United States, is that true? Is there some sort of clinic that everybody's going to at the White House, or does everyone else need to go see their normal doctor?
Right. No, we've already debunked that. There is a clinic there. It's in the Eisenhower Executive Office building. It's not in the White House proper. It's across the street, across West Executive Avenue. There's a clinic over there. If this guy's coming up, which he might be doing as a neurological consultant, to see patients, that are active duty or elsewhere, and they shouldn't be seeing anybody that's not active duty over there. But if they're, if that's what's going on, that doesn't explain why he was waived into the residence clinic. The residence clinic is the clinic in the White House proper that's specifically for the president and the first family. And like I said, it's right below the president's bedroom in the cross hall of the ground floor of the White House. That people aren't going over there to be evaluated. That is the first family's space. That is the first family's medical clinic. And we know from the records, and they have since admitted that he was waived in to the residence clinic by Dr. Kevin O'Connor, the appointed physician of the president. And now, after denying it and saying that was ridiculous, that to be saying he was seeing the president because he was seeing all these active duty people, the press secretary has now admitted that yes, he did get waived into that clinic by Dr. O'Connor to see the president.
Yes.
So, they just lie, and then they get caught in the lie, and they have to get back out, and they try to cover it up. And they've been getting away with this for so long because they've had a completely complicit White House press corps that just, doesn't ask any questions, and they get told to shut up and move on, and they do so, which they would never do if they were Trump or a Republican administration. Yeah. But they got away with it for 3.5 years, and now they don't know what to do because suddenly, for the first time, they're not calling the shots.
I know, and it's funny. I mean, not funny, but it's awful. And what you're saying is totally real, Dr. Ronny Jackson. I've noticed that the press seems to have forgot what they were told the night of the debate. Remember, as that debate was going on, and the world was staring at Biden going, what the hell's wrong with this guy? And then the White House releases a statement, oh, he's got a cold. He was checked out by the doctor. He was given a COVID test. It came back negative. These were the things they were declaring on the night of the debate. The press either forgot that or memory hold it, and then for days was going with this story that, oh, the only exam Biden had received was his physical in February, which is like, wait a second. They literally just told you a COVID test was administered ahead of the debate in order to figure out what was going on with Biden's cold. It's just all of the medical information, right, Dr. Ronny Jackson, is misconstrued, lied about, and misrepresented.
Yeah, they got on TV, and the press secretary, the first thing she said was like, he checked in by phone with his doctor, right? And then the president got on TV and said that the doctor looked at him and said, you look tired, right? What was it? Did he see the doctor? Did he not see the doctor? It's ridiculous, right? But yeah, when they have these national security issues, they put the spokesperson for the National Security Council out there. These are medical questions. The press secretary, KGP or whatever, KJP or whatever her name is, Boxer Rocks, that calls herself the press secretary there. She's barely capable of doing like a normal press conference. She is absolutely positively not qualified or capable to be answering medical questions about the president's health. That's President O'Connor's job. He's the appointed physician of the president, and under any circumstance and under any other administration, if this was going on, they would march that guy out there and he would answer the questions definitively, one way or the other, and he would say yes or no, and he would tell us exactly what's going on.
Yeah, no question. I mean, she doesn't even know how to pronounce the terminology that she's using in the briefing. So another piece here, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, again, the White House physician now, I saw an interview with him done a couple months ago. He did it with some trade organization or something. It wasn't a probing interview, but in it, he was bragging that he sees Joe Biden every day. He said the first words he exchanges with the president literally every day are, "Good morning, Mr. President." So as a White House physician, you are essentially in constant contact with the president, right?
Yeah, you do. You see him every day. You're usually the first person to see him in the morning, the last person to see him in the evening. He never leaves the property without you with him. You're on the plane with him, on the helicopter, at the hotel. You're in the hold rooms, everywhere he goes. That physician is with the president or one of his designated physicians, but generally that physician, the appointed physician, is with him. He spends more time with him than probably anybody else at the White House, other than maybe Jill Biden. And he sees him all the time. And look, I'm going to just say, if he's not doing anything and he's living with this guy, basically seeing him every day, and he's not doing anything to address what's going on, he's not giving him any medication, that's malpractice right now. This guy's obviously got something seriously wrong with him. And so if he's not seeing him, not evaluating him, not doing exams on him, and not trying to treat what's going on, then you got to ask yourself, what's his purpose?
Dr. Ronny Jackson, what's happening in Delaware? Joe Biden spends 40% of his presidency there. You just said that the White House physician is constantly with the president, no matter where he is. One would assume that also includes when he's in Delaware. What is possibly happening when Biden is off the White House campus?
Well, anything could be happening when that's going on, right? Because he's with the president, no matter where he's at, including Delaware. One of the physicians is, and if there's something serious going on, it's Dr. O'Connor. He's with him, and they keep visitors logs at the White House, and they keep visitors logs at Camp David, because the military and the government's running that. But it's a free for all when you're at some place like Delaware. They can bring whoever they want in. They don't have to put it on a visitors log. So I'm sure that vast majority of the people that evaluated him from the medical side, that have been trying to address what's going on with him cognitively, it's probably been happening in Delaware. And they've probably been bringing consultants up there, and who knows what's been going on up there. We don't know. Finally,
just like everybody else, the president of the United States is afforded medical privacy. That's the kind of the rule in the country, the law in the country. But the national interest in the health of the president is immense and unusual compared to any other citizen. As the White House physician, do you have any public obligations to share information about whether or not the president is debilitated by his health?
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. I mean, you're there to take care of the patient, but, especially when you're on active duty. And I'll just point out that Dr. O'Connor's not on active duty. He's a civilian, and they brought him back for that reason. I was on active duty the whole time I was there. He was actually on active duty when he was as president, as vice president. And the vast majority of the presidents recently have had an active duty member that's still in that role, that has an obligation not just to the patient himself, but to the office of the president. And he does have an obligation to do that. And it's a hard line to walk sometimes, but, that's your job. And, there is a certain level of patient privacy. I'm going to be honest with you. If the president has hemorrhoids or something, that's none of the public's business, right? But if he's got cognitive decline as a commander in chief, and he's the guy walking around with the nuclear codes, and it's an absolute national security issue, somebody needs to be doing something about it. And that doctor needs to be talking to the chief of staff, to the first lady, to everybody that's close to the president. And they need to get everybody on the same page and come out and say he's not fit to be president anymore, and he's going to step down, and somebody else is going to take this role.
All right. Dr. Ronny Jackson, what a fascinating perspective. I'm so grateful for you coming on with us this week. Nice to talk to you, and we'll do it again very soon. Thank you very much, sir.